I think Brand India, which was being too much talked about few years back, has slightly mellowed down in the sense that wherever there has been a ground realities, so operating people and people who come in contact with you has a very strong perception of Brand India, especially in our industry, pharmaceuticals. The large number of Indian companies in USA are doing extremely well and growing much faster than the normal industry average. And this is coming out of the product they introduce, the quality of services they provide. So I think at the user level, the brand in Indian companies have got a kind of respect and also acceptance. And one looks towards India in terms of building up a future business because they feel that Indian companies are far more integrated than the other companies which they deal with it. And secondly, they believe since we are integrated, because we make our own bulk drugs and formulation and have own research facilities, we would remain long-term competitive on a sustainable basis. So I think in our industry it is outside Western countries, the US primarily, India is a very, very strong player. I think one of the things which is affecting Brand India in recent time is the kind of media coverage we have got, unsavory media coverage on corruption and so forth. And it has been so one-sided, so it is affecting our perception worldwide. One is not recognizing that very few countries in the world have their senior ministers and people going to jail actually. People talk of it and they get fined, but very, very few really go to jail. And I think these are the aspects which must be balanced. And I think that is something we need to communicate equally effectively. Okay, there has been, it's not that the corruption has increased, the perception of corruption has increased. Mainly because of the Right of Information Act which has come and where people have an access to information. So there is a greater degree of transparency happening basically. So I think one of the role Brand India has to probably play is to bring about this change of perception. And this somehow gets reflected in the corruption index of the country and so forth. But if you ask me personally, over the last 20 years, I see less corruption, much less than what it used to be to do business. So I think most of the businesses which do not directly deal on a very big ticket item with the government, one can do a very honest business without getting into that space. I think at one time, few years back, I think we did, Brand India did a terrific job of creating an awareness of in India in a very big manner with the hosting of nights and various other initiatives. So I must say that the India as a brand is now considered a normal, acceptable thing rather than something new happening. The second aspect is whenever one talks of economy and the future, in spite of the problems we have in terms of the movement, but if anyone looks India in a long-term perspective, medium to long-term perspective, you cannot escape the fact that there is a growth and that growth is very substantial. In fact, one has the issue coming up that most of the developed world is unlikely to have a growth. So from that point of view, India continues to remain very attractive. I think most of the Indian companies have got a different, slightly nuanced strategy, and it's not the same strategy all of us have, and they all are successful because all of us have done what is our strength, and we build on that strength rather than follow a single path. In abroad, it is the same. And I believe the level of research activity and technology which is emerging out of India, like for Wockhardt, we file about 150 patents a year. We have established research center in addition to India in UK and USA. So, I think we will be moving up the value chain very rapidly. And we might, Indian companies will emerge more as not only a generic player, but a technology company, maybe with some companies having their own new drug in the Western market. Like us, we are working on the biosimilars. So that is another, in next 3-4 years, one would see the biosimilars would be there, which is a large growth area, a great value creation for the company.